Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are conducting now, today, the 13th of November, 2023, public hearing of the Board of Haverford Township, the Board of Commissioners of Haverford Township. For our consideration and for public comment tonight is a subdivision and land development ordinance involving streets and sidewalks. Before we get to the hearing itself, we will first call the roll.
Commissioner Gondik.
Present.
Commissioner Forresty-Grubb.
Here.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Here.
Commissioner Cavender.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner Wexler.
Here.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Here.
Commissioner Holmes.
Here. And I will now ask our veteran colleague, Commissioner Bill Wexler, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag.
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. As I indicated, this is a public hearing about an ordinance addressing subdivision and land development and specifically streets and sidewalks. I will be inviting public comment after we hear first a presentation from our zoning officer, or as I refer to her, the zoning czarina, Kelly Kirk. Ms. Kirk, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. So we are here tonight to discuss the long-awaited amendment to the SALDO, changing the language to require sidewalks upon a subdivision or land development ordinance or project. Pretty short and to the point, changing Chapter 160 to be amended to provide sidewalks shall be provided for all existing and proposed streets along any existing or proposed street on which a subdivision or land development abuts. Sidewalks shall be constructed to accommodate the sidewalk, curbing, and verge requirements of the subsection E below. It also does include amendments to Chapter 157, which is not necessarily part of this public hearing because it does not require a public hearing, but I will read that into the record just for the sake of being fully inclusive. A uniform system of sidewalks and curbs along both sides of all streets and highways of Haverford Township is hereby established. Said sidewalks and curbs to be installed at the width and pursuant to other specifications prescribed in the Township Subdivision and Land Development Chapter. I have included that the proposed amendment as T1. T2 is resolution number 2335 of 2023, which was the announcement of the public hearing approved at the last meeting on October 10th, 2023. T3 is the copy of the public notice with the an email sending it to the Daily Times because we do not currently have received a proof of publication. T4 is the acknowledgement of the Delaware County Planning Commission. T5 is the Haverford Township Planning Commission minutes of March 9th, 2023. And T6 is the proposed revisions to the ordinance made by the Haverford Township Planning Commission, which was just for some general clarification. Let me get to that. Let's see, to change the last sentence, to change the third whereas the board desires to amend 160-5B4C and Chapter 157, Streets and Sidewalks, 157-1, to require the installation of sidewalks as a subdivision plan or land development plan design requirement unless such requirement is modified by the Board of Commissioners. The original ordinance read, due to a hardship pursuant to. The Planning Commission recommended that we change that to as provided for in Chapter 160-10. The other recommendation was of the ordinance amendment itself. where sidewalks shall be provided for all existing and proposed streets along any existing or proposed street on which a subdivision or land development abuts. Sidewalks shall be constructed. The original proposed amendment said to accommodate the sidewalk curbing and verge. The Planning Commission recommended to change that to in accordance with the requirements of subsection E below. And that is everything. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Solicitor, will you accept all the exhibits into our record?
Yes, at this time, for the purposes of hearing, Township Exhibits 1 through 6 will be accepted as exhibits of the township for this hearing.
Before I ask for any questions from my colleagues, is this the appropriate time, Mr. Solicitor, for me to invite public comment?
At this time, you could do it at this time, or you could have questions from the board first, or you could have the public comment first, and the board could address any questions after.
Well, let me go ahead and invite any member of the public right now who would like to be recognized and speak on this ordinance. Mr. Poynton, please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jesse Poynton, and I am a resident of the 6th Ward. I would like to very briefly state my advocacy for sidewalks. When I served on the Township Planning Commission, we strive to be consistent in our support for adding sidewalks for all new developments, and I know that the Planning Commission continues to advocate as recently as their meeting last week. The U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration, in their memorandum about the safety benefits of walkways, sidewalks, and paved shoulders, states in part, and I'm not quoting here, but sidewalks reduce pedestrian crashes, they increase transportation options to those without access to a vehicle, and improve walkability, which is one of the easiest ways for people to get the recommended allotment of physical exercise each day. I respectfully encourage you to vote to approve this amendment to Chapter 160 of the Code. Thank you for your time and your service to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Poynton.
Poynton, P-O-I-N-T-O.
Just like it sounds. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on this topic? Hearing none, I will close public comment. I now invite any of my colleagues to comment or ask any questions of our zoning officer, Ms. Kirk. Hearing none, I will close questions and comments from the commissioners. Mr. Solicitor, any other steps I need to undertake before we close this hearing?
No, at this time, the public hearing could be held once closed, and this ordinance would then be in a position to be voted upon by this board, as you would with any other ordinances.
As I understand, this ordinance will be on the agenda for the meeting later tonight, at which point the public will again have an opportunity to speak during the Citizens Forum, and any commissioners will have the right at that point also to ask any questions or make any comments before we take action on the same. That said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing. We are adjourned. Thank you, Ms. Kirk. And thank you, Madam Court Reporter.